The House of Love is a story about love, sacrifice, and the peaceful moments in life amidst difficulties and challenges. The story revolves around Tieu Ca, a strong single mother who lives with her son in a small house in a peaceful countryside. After being abandoned by her ex-husband and facing loneliness, Tieu Ca has rebuilt her life, where love and care for her family are the most precious things. When her new house is nearly finished, Hmong, an old friend who has always been ready to help Tieu Ca, decides to personally oversee the construction work. He not only assists her materially, but also becomes her companion through this challenging process. Together, they share simple moments, from small tasks like planting trees to enjoying the sweet melons Tieu Ca has grown herself. Everything finally returns to peace after the unnecessary upheavals. Tieu Ca somot thoi gian dai chiu jung hu kon, ja tim juoch suyen bin. However, to protect the new house from any sabotage or harassment by her ex-husband, Hmong decides to personally supervise the final stages of the construction. He doesn't want anything to disrupt this important task. Early this morning, when the first rays of sunlight streaked across the mountains, Hmong woke up early. He took the opportunity to go to the wood workshop to check the production progress, ensuring everything was proceeding according to plan. The workers in the workshop were working diligently, but Hmong still took the time to carefully check every detail. After a brief exchange with them, he signaled for them to continue their work and quickly made his way to Tieu Ca's new house, where the final steps of completion were awaiting. Hmong decided to handle all the remaining tasks himself. He started with the smallest jobs, like sawing the bamboo strips at the end of the roof to make them even, and transporting palm leaves up for the roofers. Every movement he made was quick and precise, as if he had been doing this his entire life. Despite his enthusiasm for the work, he didn't forget the small details. He still took the time to bring water to the workers, asked about the progress, and always gave careful instructions. Every action of Hmong radiated his dedication and concern for each person. While he was working diligently, suddenly a familiar figure appeared at the door. It was Tieu Ca. She had come up to check on the progress and brought some water and fruit to offer the workers. She wasn't just the owner of this house, but also the one who cared for those around her, always thoughtful and attentive. When Hmong saw her, his eyes briefly lit up with concern. Tieu Ca had just stepped onto the porch, her hands carrying a heavy basket filled with fruit and cool water. Seeing this, Hmong didn't hesitate. He immediately approached her and gently took the basket from her. He softly said, "Let me help you. Don't carry such a heavy load." Tieu kanin tava mim koine nang. She was a little embarrassed but couldn't hide the gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. Although it was a simple thank you for Tieu Ca, it was a gesture of appreciation for Hmong's kindness. Hmong only smiled faintly, his gaze always quietly focused on the work, but in that moment, both of them understood that their relationship had become more than it was before. Even in the smallest actions, there was deep emotion that words couldn't fully express. And in that silent space, the only sounds were the buzzing of the saw, the rustling of the palm leaves, and Hmong's hands tirelessly working, quietly weaving a bright future for Tieu Ca. Hmong looked at Tieu Ca, his eyes filled with concern, worry, and a touch of tenderness as he asked, The rain just stopped today. Why don't you stay at home and rest? The road up here is slippery. Why are you carrying such a heavy load? Tieu Ca looked at him, her eyes showing worry, but she tried to keep a smile on her face. I just wanted to come up and see how everything is going, to see if you need any help. Also, I brought some water and fruit for everyone. They've been working hard all day. I just wanted to do something to help them feel better. Hmong looked at her, not saying anything further. But in his heart, he felt her strength and resilience, yet also the concern she was carrying. He knew she wasn't the type of person to sit still, but today, with his concern for her, he couldn't let her continue to struggle. He quickly stepped over to her, looked into her basket, and saw several bottles of water and some fruit. He immediately took the bottle of water, handed it to the workers, and reminded them to work carefully and attentively. After finishing that task, he returned and sat next to Tieu Ca, his gaze gentle as he softly reminded her, "Don't overexert yourself. Rest for a bit. I'll handle the work here." Tieu Ca felt touched by Hmong's care, but she still didn't want to sit idly. She sat next to him, taking some melons she had just picked from her garden. Her hands gently peeled each slice, and in the quiet morning, the only sounds were the knife cutting into the melon and the distant sound of birds chirping. Hmong took a slice of melon from her hand, bit into it, and tasted its sweet, refreshing flavor. He was surprised and said, "This is the first time I've eaten this kind of melon. It's really delicious. A little sour, a little sweet, and so refreshing." Tieu Ca smiled gently, her eyes sparkling when she saw that Hmong liked the gift she had brought. "These are melons I grew. This year they've yielded a lot. At first, I didn't expect them to produce so many, but since you've been helping, my garden has flourished even more," she said softly, her voice full of pride. Hmong smiled happily, looking at her with a tender gaze. "I'm really glad to see your garden thriving like this. You're truly a very persistent and hardworking person. Everything you do is valuable, not just to those around you, but also as a source of pride for yourself." Tieu Ca's heart warmed at Hmong's sincere praise. She smiled and continued slicing the melons. The two of them continued talking, enjoying these peaceful moments. Tieu Ca also brought some more fruit to offer the workers. She wanted to share her joy and give a little love to everyone, even in small ways. After offering the fruit, she turned back to Hmong, her eyes bright with happiness. "Let's slice a few more pieces to offer the workers," she said. After a short break, Tieu Ca and Hmong continued with their work. Remembering a few rose bushes she had brought up some time ago but hadn't had the chance to plant due to her busy schedule, she said to Hmong, "The other day, I brought a few rose bushes up here, intending to plant them, but I didn't have time because of the work. Could you help me plant them?" Hmong looked at her, his eyes warm and filled with care. "Of course, let me help you. Your garden is just like mine. Let's take care of it together." Together, they carefully planted the new rose bushes. Hmong not only helped Tieu Ca, but also took the time to teach her how to care for the plants, how to keep the soil fertile and healthy. They exchanged cheerful words as they worked, and the air around them seemed lighter and more comfortable than ever. They forgot about the struggles and worries of life. All that was left were the sounds of laughter and the soft footsteps on the earth. As the sunset gradually descended, the gentle golden light filtered through the branches, and the two of them continued working. The air grew cooler, but their hearts remained warm. They looked back at the small garden, filled with a sense of satisfaction and happiness. For Tieu Ca, this wasn't just work. It was a way of taking care of her life and the people around her. Time continued to pass, but these moments seemed to stand still. There were no more worries or burdens, only the sincere affection between the two. They sat down together, watching the rose bushes begin to bloom, feeling the peace that the work had brought. Everything in life seemed fresher, despite the hardships and challenges, because they could still find joy and happiness in the little things. The feeling of tending to a garden with someone, planting flowers, and sharing the simplest things in life is a connection they could not do without in their journey. No matter how many difficulties lie ahead, with each other's companionship, they would never feel alone. Tieu Ca and Hmong, each carrying their own burdens, had together overcome these difficulties. They were no longer just old friends, but companions, sharing and building a home full of love. As the evening sun began to set, the atmosphere in the garden remained warm. Tieu Ca and Hmong sat beneath the shade of a tree, their eyes filled with peace and hope. Even though tomorrow would bring new challenges, they knew that with love and unity, they could overcome anything. And as the sound of birds singing and the gentle breeze rustling through the leaves filled the air, they understood that in this life, the little things full of meaning are what help them stay strong. The house of love was not just a place to live, but a place where hearts are filled with love, where everyone finds peace, no matter how tough life may get.
Một ngày nắng oi ả, ánh mặt trời rực rỡ chiếu thẳng xuống khu đất trống, nơi Tieu Ca đang tất bật dọn dẹp. Cô cảm thấy rõ sự thay đổi trong công việc khi việc dựng nhà đã không còn là gánh nặng nữa. Nhờ sự hỗ trợ nhiệt tình từ Hùng, cô đã thuê được nhiều người để về dựng căn nhà, và chỉ vài ngày nữa thôi, căn nhà nhỏ ấy sẽ hoàn thiện. Còn lại những công việc nhẹ nhàng như dọn dẹp, thu xếp đồ đạc và là những việc cô có thể tự tay lo được, không phải vất vả với những công việc nặng nhọc. Tieu Ca cảm thấy nhẹ nhõm hơn, nên hôm nay cô quyết định ra ngoài thu hoạch hoa quả từ thôn bạn khác gần đó để đi bán kiếm thêm thu nhập. Thời điểm này đang là mùa vải chín, những quả vải thơm lừng, ngọt lịm, mọng nước đang chín rộ khắp các khu vườn. Đây là cơ hội tuyệt vời để Tieu Ca có thể có thêm chút thu nhập từ món hoa quả này. Với quyết tâm và đôi tay chăm chỉ, Tieu Ca đến những vườn vải trong vùng nơi người dân đang hái. Cô đi từ nhà này đến nhà khác, thu gom từng quả vải chín mọng, xếp chúng vào sọt. Bà chủ vườn biết cô là người siêng năng, đã nhiệt tình giúp đỡ cô đốn cành vải còn sót lại, giúp cô thu hoạch dễ dàng hơn. Bác cũng chia sẻ với Tieu Ca rằng mình đang định trồng loại cây ăn quả khác thay thế vải, vì vải đã không còn như xưa.